Does anybody else have a magical fridge that causes some vegetables to regrow when you forget about them? So you want to cook with cauliflower? Well, here's a load of recipes for you. Explored the variety of cauliflower in making meals in this video, but they are very much interchangeable. First I'll show you cauliflower cheese. So here's the ingredients you need. For the cheese, pretty much you'll want some sort of plant milk. I've gone with oat, cashew, sweet potato and nutritional yeast. And then I've just got a bunch of vegetables to throw in and add some flavour. And I've opted for the beautiful Romanesco cauliflower, or as I like to call it, Godhead, because it has such beautiful, trippy, psychedelic detail. So first of all, I boiled up some sweet potato, popped them in a blender with some cashews, nutritional yeast, and I think I added a bit of paprika for flavour, and some plant milk. Nut milks probably add more to the flavour, but I went with oat milk. I've put the cauliflower on the tray whole, although you don't have to. I just couldn't bring myself to cut up the Romanesco because it seems to know so much more about the universe than I ever could. Pop that on a tray with some simple veg. I've just got garlic, onion and tomato and pepper on there, and then just poured over the blended cheese sauce. Made sure that everything was coated and roasted it. Plated it up, put on some jalapenos just because I enjoyed the kick of that. Plated it onto some greens, and that's it. It's really quite delicious. If you aren't possessed by the beauty of a Romanesco cauliflower, you can just break the cauliflower up into bits and it will reduce its cooking time somewhat, but I left it in for about 20 minutes. Really just want the cauliflower to soften and the cheese to harden. Here's a purple version made with purple sweet potato, purple cauliflower, and I've just crunched up some dried thin beetroot chips on top just to give it a bit of crispiness. For the next recipe we'll be making cauliflower fried rice. I've made it with a side of black bean veg. So here's what we will be using for our ingredients. For the rice itself, we'll just start with a little garlic and tofu in the pan. I've also added a little bit of turmeric, and then added some really finely cut cauliflower. This should be very fine because it's supposed to be your rice. I've chucked a couple of peas in there, and then I've just made the black bean sauce to go on the side, which started life as garlic, ginger and onion in a pan, with the addition of black beans, some sweet corn, chopped tomatoes, some soy sauce, and then I've just added a mixture of veg, so some spring greens, mushroom and bean sprouts. Now I've just topped off the fried cauliflower rice with some spring onion, and that's basically a delicious meal there, right there. Now we'll have a roasted cauliflower instead of making it into rice. It's just a really simple thing to do. I've just made a sweet and sour mixed veg, so we've got onion, garlic, ginger in the pan. I've added some cabbage quite early on so that it's got time to soften properly, and then I've added lots of veg. Again, just some mixed veg, bean sprouts, some spring greens, mushrooms, and to that I've added pineapple, tomato, some apple cider vinegar. Just made sure there's enough liquid in the pan so that it's quite saucy. I've added some corn as well. And then all I've done is simply roast a Romanesco. I couldn't bring myself to cut them up, I don't know what's wrong with me, but all I've done is simply roast it and then poured the sauce over the top, just plating it up on a bed of greens. look, I obviously cooked some peppers in there too that I didn't mention. Sauce doesn't take, no, actually none of this really takes very long to cook. Roasting the cauliflower doesn't take too long, but the sauce in particular, I think you're looking at about 10 minutes really. This one was a bit experimental, the cauliflower crust pizza. So to make the crust, I've essentially just blitzed together some mixed seeds, there's a bit of nutritional yeast and oregano in there, a little bit of garlic, some cashews and cauliflower. So I've just blended those down. Now the cauliflower retains quite a lot of moisture, and for this to work you do want it to be a fair bit dry. So I put that in the oven, so I squeezed out the water, put that in the oven on a low heat, and then turned it over to make sure that both sides were crispy. Separately, I've just made a simple passata, saved some of the cheese sauce from the cauliflower cheese, so that's the exact same recipe, and then I've just put my passata with mixed veg cooked into it on top, and the cheese sauce, and then just baked it for an additional 5 minutes or so to get everything crispy, because everything's already cooked. Next, I have, when that's roasted, it took some manoeuvring to get this off the plate because the cauliflower crust completely fell to pieces. But hey, it's an experiment. And just plated that up with some greens. It was really tasty, it's just not attractive at all. Okay, this one might be the winner. So we've got some crispy coated cauliflower wings and onion rings with some things. So I started just with some oats, which I'll then blend to a fine powder. Oat flour, if you will. So this is going to use part of this, you're going to portion out to make sort of the actual crispy coating, and part of it you'll make the batter. So for the batter I've just had, well, for all of it really you'll add a mixture of spices, but in the batter I've put in some paprika, some cumin, some chili seeds. But I mean, this is very much to your own palate, you can make it taste however you want. And then I've just sort of mixed those together to roughly combine them. And then I've added a bit of plant milk just to wet it, just to water that down. You should actually add more than this, as you see here. I added a little bit more just afterwards. And then this is my attempt at one-handed stirring. Panic. And back to the one-handed stirring. Separately I've got the same thing going on in another container for dry ingredients, just no plant milk added, and I added some, just to make it crunchy, you can add some finely cut seeds or some panko breadcrumbs will work well. Now essentially I'm just going to cut the cauliflower into small pieces, small florets. This time we're going purple. Coat that in the batter and then just shift that over to the dry bowl, so try not to get wet fingers in the dry bowl, and then that'll just pick up the coating. You can just put that then on a baking tray along with its brothers and sisters. This is also me trying to frustratedly manhandle this one piece of cauliflower with one hand also, so I apologise. Do the same thing to some onions, so just make sure you're cutting straight through the discs of the bulb. Coat those in liquid and then, oh gosh, yep, pick it up and oh god, this poor little hand doing all the work. Oh, they've made arcade games about this. And then just coat that in the dry crispy mix too. I'll pick up the coating nicely, and then you can just pop that onto the baking tray next to its cauliflower buddies. And I think I also put some red peppers, just cut lengths of red pepper, put those on the baking tray next to it as well to roast. Pop that in the oven for, won't take too long, maybe about 10-15 minutes at most. And then I've just made a sauce to top that off with some tomatoes, onion, garlic, some pineapple, peppers, And I've just plated that up with some corn, put it onto a bed of salad. And here are your lovely crispy wings, or whatever, cauliflower florets. They are really nice. I mean, it sounds like, it might not sound that amazing to just have crispy cauliflower, but it's genuinely one of the best meals out there. It's really tastes like a treat. And the onion rings are great too. So just plate that up, and then I'll pour the sauce over the top. For the next meal, cauliflower Caesar. I was quite impressed with myself coming up with this. But here's what you'll need for the ingredients. There's quite a lot that goes into getting the Caesar flavour, but at first I've gone with a yellow cauliflower. So they kind of have a different texture to them, but I've just coated that up in some thyme, lemon, black pepper, some finely chopped garlic and onion, just let that really pick up those flavours, and then I'll just pop that in the oven for a bit. Now to make the Caesar dressing, I've added some butter beans or cannellini beans with some lemon. I've added a bit of water to that as well, and then just blended that first down into sort of a thick, creamy, lemony mix. And next I've added some capers. I actually added more capers than you see here because I tasted it afterwards and thought, needs more capers. Added more lemon, nutritional yeast, some mustard goes in there, cashews, and some garlic too. Do very much to your own taste, but in particular I added more lemon, more mustard and more capers than you see to get the flavour. Oh, and more liquid. Maybe that was the lemon that was the liquid. But yeah, if you need it to be a bit watery, just add a bit more water, that would be fine. Oh, that's your garlic. And then I've just blended that up. I added a little bit more liquid to this because it was just a bit chunky. And then just plated that up by putting the roasted lemon pepper cauliflower pieces onto a bed of salad. So this is a Caesar mix, so I've just added it onto lettuce. Some of the some of the onion bits that are grilled up as well. And then I think I just added some finely chopped sort of nuts and seeds too. And then just pour on that sauce, which I think mine might still be a bit thick, but it tasted fantastic. Give us the sauce. There's the sauce. I think I've put some seaweed on top of this as well. That's your own personal choice. Geez, at the time of filming, I clearly felt like we needed a little stare at the plate footage. Oh yeah, broccoli on top. So for the next meal, I've just made aloo gobi, sort of lumps, and then a dal to go on the side. So for the aloo gobi, I've just added some spices to the pan, so cumin, turmeric, garam masala, and then I've just boiled up some potato and so sort of mash up the potato and bunch the cauliflower in with it, put that in the oven to roast it, and then separately I've just made a really simple dal recipe. It's up to you what veg you really want to put in there, but it's the same spices, some onion and garlic just cooked down, and then add some red split lentils. Kind of get something like that. I added some pineapple, tomatoes for fun. Just, you do not have to add pineapple to dal, I just like it. And then, I did it again. Just with a different dal, a yellower dal. So there's some variety in the recipe for whatever kind of curry you want to make, really. To just pour over the top, but essentially the point of this is to just show you those sort of aloo gobi lumps. So for the steak, I've started out by making a steak marinade just by adding some celery, pepper, some sun-dried tomatoes will go in there, some onion, I've added some tomatoes as well. Just putting all of this into a blender. And then I've added some paprika, little mustard, garlic, some pepper, as in some peppercorns, a little lemon and apple cider vinegar. And then I think I must have watered this down at least a little bit because that would have destroyed my blender just as it was. There we go, there's a bit of liquid. Phew. So then I've simply blended that up and then cut a big wedge of cauliflower and then just poured the marinade all over it. Just make sure that completely coats what is essentially your cauliflower steak. Now, I'm not going to pretend this tastes like steak. I'm just saying it does the job of steak on a plate. So if you want a steak-like meal, you can have the steak meal experience, but I'm not in any way pretending that you're going to bite into this and be like, oh, ask the chef, was this real? So anyway, just roasted that up all covered in its marinade, and I've just plated that up with some of the purple broccoli that was left over, some sweet corn, the purple cauliflower that was left over, some sweet corn, some tender stem broccoli, some greens, some peas, some roasted potatoes, all sorts of things you might put with steak, and I've just put some more of the sauce on top. To be clear, I'm not insane. I don't think this tastes like steak. So next I've made a Mexican style wrap, and then I'll show you sort of what I did with just leftovers using them up. So this is kind of a similar concept to the coated wings and rings and things recipe. So I've not used the same spices in this one, but there's no reason that you couldn't. But essentially all I've done is just create a similar batter as before. So we've essentially got the oat flour and plant milk, coated the cauliflower florets, and then just drop them into something that gives them a nice crumminess. So we've got some mixed spices in there, some more of the oat flour and just some panko breadcrumbs. This will give them a nice crispy coating, and then I'll just put them in the oven to take care of their own business while I move on to making other things. Oh, I put some potatoes in it as well just for the experiment, and that worked out just fine. So I also made some guacamole, so I've just put some avocado, garlic and squeezed some lime into a dish and then mashed them all up together. I didn't really bother to make salsa and guacamole separately, so I kind of put them all in together. I was very fortunate to get this pineapple really cheap. So open up your pineapple, and then you can just cut up your salsa ingredients and put them directly into the guacamole mix. So I've just put some onion, tomato and pineapple straight in with the rest of it. So I've made a simple dressing just using some sunflower seeds, garlic, a mixture of some herbs, oregano, coriander work well, some lemon, and then I think I've just blitzed that up as it was. Maybe with a little water if it doesn't come out very runny, but really I wanted it to be quite lemony. And the next thing to do really is just to assemble it. Oh, I also roasted some red peppers in the oven with the cauliflower and potatoes. So I'm just going to assemble that first by just sort of pan searing a wrap, a tortilla wrap, and then I'll layer in my filling. So I've added some big lettuce leaves, a little layer of the salsa guacamole mixture, and then I'll add the crunchy guys. And I really think I loaded this wrap right up, so I mean it's very ended up being quite filling just because I really packed it out. But I've put a mixture of the cauliflower and the potato in here. And, oh yeah, the roasted red peppers. When you roast red peppers in the oven, the skin on the outside will just start to blacken and come away from the flesh, and you can kind of just, once they're a bit cooler, just sort of pinch it and pull the skin off, and you just get the lovely smooth roasted red pepper with all its sweet juiciness. So just put a bit more of the salsa and guacamole on, and then just poured cream all over, or the sort of creamy lemony dressing all over the top. Folded it around itself, and then I think I've just put a few jalapenos on in the end. I don't know whether that's in here, but I added some jalapenos and just felt rather proud of myself because that was delicious. There you are, late to the party, but being the centre of it. So for the last meal I just kind of wanted to use up some of the stuff I'd got left, so I made this sort of Mexican cauliflower rice dish. So I've got half a pepper and avocado there that I've sort of married together, and then I'm just going to use up just a mixture of whatever veg I've got lying around. I've got this spinach really cheap. I'm a bit I can't resist something that's reduced, so I'll always just look at that bag of spinach and be like, yeah, I'll eat that. You know. So then I've just cooked up my rice by adding some garlic, onion and peppers directly into the pan and just let them cook down with a few spices, some paprika, chili, some coriander in there as well. I've added some tomatoes and some of the leftover pineapple to the mix. Again, bargain pineapple. Squeeze in a little lime, and then I've just minced up the cauliflower really finely, or you could just put it in a blender to get that ricey consistency, and added a heck of a lot of spinach, which reduces down to this amount of spinach, and just let that sort of cook off a bit. A lot of the features of that dish are going to give off a lot of water, so you really don't need to, you just need to keep things moving around the pan while it sweats out. Then it becomes quite wet for a while, and then you need to just let it dry out a bit, and then you can serve it up. I've just topped it off with some of the leftover avocado. This is a really low effort meal, it takes minutes really. There goes the avocado. And then I think I'll just drop a bit of cashew nuts on top and some nutritional yeast. So a little heavy-handed with the nutritional yeast. Oh well, it likes me B vitamins. Some jalapenos on top there. And I think I just finished that off with a final squeeze of lime. I like citrus. So I mean, I don't know whether I should have called this cauliflower meals or, you know, ways that I overuse lemons and limes, but in goes some more lime. And that's that. All these meals are really delicious, quite simple, anyone can really make them. Cauliflower becomes incredibly versatile when you make it sort of the feature of a dish, kind of in a similar way to the way that people use meat, to be honest, that it's just there, and then you sauce it, marinate it, dress it in whatever way you want. It kind of takes on that role, although it's obviously not giving you that texture. I don't know, I really enjoy it, and I think if you can get your head around the fact that it's just cauliflower, maybe you would too. I think it's a brilliant, versatile feature, main feature of a lot of dishes. And you know, if you can get it as cheap as I'm sometimes able to pick them up for when they're on offer, that's a lot of food that's barely costing anything. But that's that. Go eat some cauliflower, have a great time, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of it. Here's the cauliflowers. Good day.